The Silent Guardian. Maya Chen stood at the viewport of Outpost Helios, watching another dust storm paint the sky in shades of rusty orange. 3 years of solitude on this failing terraforming project had taught her to find beauty even in desolation. The massive atmospheric processors she maintained continued their endless work, fighting against a planet that seemed determined to reject every human attempt to tame it. Warning: external atmospheric toxicity levels increasing, announced HFY, the outpost's eye assistant. Recommend postponing today's maintenance routine. Maya adjusted her environmental suit's seals, checking each connection with practiced precision. Not an option, HFY. Processor 4's efficiency dropped another 2% overnight. We can't afford any more delays. Your persistence continues to defy statistical probability, HFY observed, a note of what might have been concern in its synthesized voice. May I remind you that Command hasn't responded to our status reports in 14 months. They'll respond, Maya said, more out of habit than conviction. She knew the truth. Helios was a failed project, and she was its caretaker, tasked with maintaining the impossible dream of terraforming this hostile world until either success or failure became undeniable. As she prepared to exit the airlock, something caught her eye through the swirling dust. A glint of metal on the ridge overlooking the outpost. Maya had noticed it before, but today something seemed different about the way it reflected the light. HFY, what do we know about that object on the northern ridge? Scanning. A pause. Object appears to be a derelict autonomous unit of unknown origin. First detected upon outpost establishment. Classified as debris. Recommend avoiding contact due to potential hazards. Maya frowned. 3 years, and you're just now telling me about it. You never asked. HFY replied simply. Previous staff marked it as irrelevant to terraforming operations. Previous staff. Maya almost laughed. The original team of 12 had departed 2 years ago, leaving her as the sole volunteer to maintain the project. Some called it dedication, others madness. Maya preferred to think of it as stubbornness. The maintenance route would take her near the ridge. Despite HFY's protests, Maya decided to investigate. The storm was beginning to clear as she approached the object, and what she found made her breath catch. It wasn't debris. It was a drone, but unlike any she'd seen in the colonial fleet. Its design was elegant, almost organic, with smooth curves that seemed to flow like liquid metal. 6 articulated legs were folded beneath its oval body, and what appeared to be a primary sensor array was dark but intact. HFY, are you seeing this? Maya activated her suit's camera feed. This isn't human technology. Correct. Design parameters do not match any known human manufacturing signatures. Caution advised. Maya circled the drone, studying its construction. Despite years of exposure to the harsh environment, its surface showed minimal corrosion. It's beautiful, she whispered, reaching out to brush away the dust from its sensor array. Physical contact not recommended, HFY warned. Maya ignored the warning, continuing to clear debris from the drone. As she worked, she noticed markings along its hull, symbols in no language she recognized, but they seemed to pulse faintly at her touch, as if responding to her presence. Hello there, she said softly, feeling slightly foolish for talking to an inactive machine. What's your story? The drone, of course, remained silent, but something about it called to her. In its elegant design and careful placement overlooking the outpost, she sensed purpose, not abandonment. This wasn't random debris. It had been placed here, watching over this spot long before humans arrived. From that day forward, Maya made visiting the drone part of her daily routine. Each morning, before beginning her maintenance rounds, she would climb the ridge and spend a few moments with it. Sometimes she would clean away the accumulated dust. Other times she would simply talk to it, sharing her frustrations about the failing terraforming project or her theories about its origin. You're developing an unhealthy attachment to inactive technology, HFY observed one morning, after Maya had spent an hour trying to decipher the mysterious symbols. Says the AI who color codes my meal preparations by nutritional value. Maya retorted. Besides, I don't think it's completely inactive. Watch this. She placed her hand on the drone's hull, and for a brief moment, the symbols pulsed with a soft blue light. Interesting, Araya admitted. Energy signature detected, but source cannot be identified. Recommendation remains unchanged. Exercise caution. Months passed, and Maya's visits to the drone became the one constant in her increasingly challenging routine. The terraforming project continued its slow decline, despite her best efforts. Equipment failures mounted, and resources dwindled. Yet each morning, she would climb the ridge, greet her silent guardian, and face another day. Then came the morning that changed everything. Maya was making her usual visit, discussing her latest attempts to stabilize Processor 4, when she noticed something different. The drone's sensor array, dark for so long, now emitted a faint purple glow. As she watched, the glow intensified, and the symbols along its hull began to pulse in a rhythmic pattern. Araya, Maya called out, her heart racing. Are you seeing this? Affirmative. Energy signatures increasing. Multiple systems activating. Maya, I strongly advise. The drone's legs unfurled with fluid grace, lifting its body from the ground. Its sensor array focused on Maya, the purple glow brightening until it illuminated her entire environmental suit. A voice emerged from the drone. Unlike any synthetic voice she'd heard before, it seemed to resonate not just in her ears but in her bones. Interface initiated. Human presence acknowledged. You have been speaking to me. Maya stood frozen, torn between fear and wonder. After 3 years of one-sided conversations, her silent guardian had found its voice, and with it, she would soon discover, came revelations that would challenge everything she thought she knew about her mission on this hostile world. Yes, she managed to reply. I have. I'm Maya. And you are. The drone's response would mark the beginning of an adventure that would change not just her life, but the fate of 2 civilizations. I am Sentinel 459, last guardian of the Nexus, and you, Maya, have reawakened something that was meant to stay buried. Echoes of war. The purple glow from Sentinel 459's sensor array cast strange shadows across the rocky terrain as Maya processed its words. The wind howled around them, carrying stinging particles of dust, but she barely noticed the environmental warnings flashing on her suit's display. What do you mean, meant to stay buried? She asked, her voice steady despite her racing heart. The drone's legs shifted, adjusting its position to better face her. This planet's hostility to terraforming is not natural. It is defended. We are the defenders. We. Maya glanced around the desolate landscape. I don't see anyone else here. Araya. Sentinel's voice resonated with new urgency. You are not of my network, but you monitor this world. Have you detected the energy signatures beneath the surface? Maya's calm crackled with Araya's response. Negative. My sensors are calibrated for atmospheric and geological analysis only. That explains the oversight. Sentinel's sensor array dimmed slightly. The Nexus was designed to be invisible to primitive scanning technology. No offense intended. None taken. Araya replied, though Maya detected a hint of indignation in its tone. Perhaps you could explain what this Nexus is. Sentinel raised itself higher on its legs, now towering over Maya. The symbols along its hull pulsed with increasing intensity. The Nexus is a planetary defense network created by the predecessors. This world was once their final stronghold, protected by thousands of my kind. I am the last active guardian. Maya's mind raced with implications. Protected from what? The Devourers. Sentinel's voice dropped to a lower frequency that made Maya's bones vibrate. They came from the void between galaxies, consuming worlds, breaking down all matter and energy to fuel their expansion. The predecessors fought them for millennia, developing technologies your people would consider impossible. But they lost, Maya guessed, thinking of the empty, hostile world around them. No, Sentinel corrected. They won, but at a terrible cost. This planet was their final weapon, a trap set for the Devourer's main consciousness. The hostile environment isn't a natural phenomenon. It's an active defense system preventing anyone from accidentally reawakening what lies dormant beneath the surface. Maya felt her legs weaken as understanding dawned. The terraforming project. We've been trying to deactivate a planetary defense system without even knowing it. Correct. Each attempt to alter the atmosphere triggers automated countermeasures. I was meant to warn away any visitors, but my systems were damaged in the final battle. Until you began speaking to me, I could not gather enough energy to reactivate. Your daily visits, HFY interjected. They weren't just conversations. The physical contact was transferring energy. Human bioelectric fields are remarkably compatible with our technology, Sentinel confirmed. The predecessors designed it that way, believing that if any species could eventually be trusted with their legacy, it would be ones like yours, persistent, adaptable, and capable of empathy even toward machines. Maya laughed weakly. So my habit of talking to inactive technology wasn't so crazy after all. On the contrary, Sentinel's voice carried what might have been amusement. It was precisely the kind of illogical, emotionally driven behavior that made humans the ideal candidates for. The drone suddenly went rigid, its sensor array flaring bright enough to make Maya's suit automatically dim her visor. Alert! Security breach detected in Nexus Layer 2. Something is attempting to access the containment protocols. HFY. Maya called out. Are you picking up anything? Negative, but Processor 4 is showing unusual energy fluctuations. Maya, the efficiency drops we've been tracking. They're not random. They form a pattern. Sentinel's legs shifted into what was clearly a combat stance. The terraforming project wasn't meant to fail. It was meant to provide cover for something else. Someone has been using your equipment to systematically probe the Nexus defenses. Maya's blood ran cold. How long do we have? Unknown, but we must act quickly. The Nexus is awakening, and with it, everything else that was buried here. Sentinel turned its sensor array to face her directly. Maya Chen, I require your assistance. The predecessors left protocols for this situation, but they can only be activated by a human consciousness working in tandem with a guardian. Why me? Because you showed kindness to a machine you thought was dead, because you persisted when others gave up, but mostly because you're here, and we're out of time. Sentinel extended one of its legs, the tip transforming into what looked like an interface board. Will you help? Maya looked back at the outpost, thinking of her years of dedication to a project that now seemed like a cover for something far more sinister. She thought of the empty status reports, the lack of response from command, and all the equipment failures that suddenly made a terrible kind of sense. HFY. Execute Security Protocol Lambda. Lock down all terraforming processors and encrypt their controls. No one accesses them without my direct authorization. Acknowledged, HFY responded. But Maya, if you do this, there's no going back. Command will consider it a breach of contract at best, treason at worst. Maya reached out and grasped Sentinel's offered interface port. They stopped responding 14 months ago. HFY. I don't think command exists anymore. At least, not the command we thought we were working for. The interface port hummed under her touch, and Maya felt a strange tingling sensation travel up her arm. Sentinel's voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. Initiating neural sync. Prepare yourself, Maya Chen. What I'm about to show you will change your understanding of not just this world, but your place in the universe. The predecessors left more than just weapons here. They left a choice, and you're about to make it for all of humanity. As the neural link established itself, Maya saw images flash through her mind. Vast cities buried beneath the surface, technologies beyond her comprehension, and something else, something massive stirring in the depths. The real truth about this world was about to be revealed, and she had a feeling that her habit of talking to abandoned machines had just entangled her in a war that was supposed to have ended eons ago. The storm around them intensified, but Maya barely noticed. She was too focused on the stream of information flooding her consciousness and the growing realization that the fate of much more than a failed terraforming project now rested in her hands. The hidden truth. The neural link with Sentinel felt like diving into an ocean of liquid light. Maya's consciousness expanded, touched by alien memories and knowledge that threatened to overwhelm her human mind. Through the connection, she saw the truth of this world laid bare, layer upon layer of ancient technology, dormant but not dead, waiting. Remarkable. Sentinel's voice echoed in her thoughts. Your neural plasticity exceeds all projected models. The predecessors chose well. Maya struggled to process the flood of information. These structures beneath the surface, they're not just ruins. They're machines. The entire planet is a machine. A sanctuary and a prison both, Sentinel confirmed. The Devourers could not be destroyed conventionally. Their consciousness existed in a quantum state, able to transfer between hosts. The predecessors created this world as a trap, using their own technologies against them. Through their shared link, Maya watched the historical records unfold. She saw vast fleets of crystalline ships, beautiful and terrible, advancing through space like a tide of hungry stars. The Devourers. Against them, the predecessors fought with weapons that bent reality itself. But it wasn't enough. The final battle. Sentinel narrated as the memories played out. The predecessors sacrificed their entire civilization to draw the Devourers here. They knew they could not win through force alone, so they created something new. A hybrid of organic and technological consciousness that could contain the Devourers' quantum essence. Maya witnessed the transformation of the planet, watched as layer upon layer of defenses were built, each more sophisticated than the last. The atmospheric hostility, the storms, even the mineral composition of the rocks, it's all designed to maintain a specific energy state. Yes, a quantum prison, sustained by the very forces the Devourers once commanded. But now, Sentinel's consciousness pulsed with concern. Someone is trying to break that containment. Together, they traced the pattern of energy fluctuations through the terraforming processors. What seemed like random failures now revealed themselves as precise, calculated attempts to disrupt the planet's defensive matrix. Each failed processor created a weak point, a potential breach in the quantum prison miles below. RIA. Maya called out through her suit's comm. Access the processor logs. Look for any maintenance visits not performed by me in the last 14 months. Scanning. RIA responded. Found them. Masked under system updates, but there are dozens of unauthorized access points. They're using our own update protocols to hide their activity. Because they have command codes, Maya realized. But whoa. The answer came through her link with Sentinel, a memory not of the ancient past, but of just 3 years ago. Through the drone's dormant sensors, she watched a ship land in the dead of night. Its design was human, but something about its movement was wrong. Too fluid, too precise. From it emerged figures in environmental suits that reflected no light. The Devourers weren't completely contained. Maya whispered, horror dawning. Some of them escaped, didn't they? They've been out there all this time, waiting, planning. Yes, Sentinel confirmed. They lost their primary consciousness, but some fragments survived. For millennia, they have sought to free their core essence. Now they have infiltrated your society, using human technology and human forms to achieve what they could not through force. A new alarm blared through the outpost's systems. Aria's voice was urgent. Maya. Processor 4 just went into total meltdown. Its containment systems are failing. Through her link with Sentinel, Maya saw the true danger. The processor wasn't just failing, it was being transformed. The unauthorized access had introduced something into its systems, a kind of technological virus that was reshaping the machinery at the quantum level. They're not trying to destroy the processor, she realized. They're turning it into a quantum beacon, a signal to wake something up. Sentinel's consciousness surged with confirmation. The process has already begun. Feel it. Maya did. Through their shared connection, she sensed vibrations deep beneath the surface, something massive stirring in its ancient prison. The ground trembled, and in the distance, the storm clouds began to move in unnatural patterns, swirling around the compromised processor like water circling a drain. "What do we do?" she asked, fighting back panic. The predecessors left one option: a reset protocol that would reinforce the quantum prison. But activating it requires reaching the central nexus chamber, deep beneath the surface. The path will be dangerous. The Devourer's servants will try to stop us. And if we don't make it in time. Sentinel's response was grave. Then what awakens will consume not just this world, but all worlds. The Devourer's hunger is infinite, and their hatred for organic life absolute. Maya looked toward the outpost, her home for 3 years, now revealed as just one small piece in a conflict spanning eons. How long do we have? Hours at most. The quantum cascade has begun. She took a deep breath, checking her suit's systems. Araya scanned the outpost. Are we alone? Negative, Araya replied. Multiple unregistered signatures approaching from the south. Their movement patterns match the unauthorized maintenance visits. They know we've discovered them, Sentinel concluded. Maya Chen, I must ask you one final time. Are you prepared for what comes next? The path to the Nexus chamber will require us to maintain our neural link. You will be exposed to energies and experiences no human was meant to endure. Maya thought of all the mornings she spent talking to what she thought was just an abandoned drone. She thought of her stubbornness in staying when everyone else left, and how that stubbornness had inadvertently prepared her for this moment. The predecessors believed humans could be trusted with their legacy, she said. Let's prove them right. Around them, the storm intensified, and far below, ancient machines began to wake. The race to prevent a horror from escaping its prison had begun, and the only ones standing in its way were a lone human and the last guardian of a dead civilization. Maya had never felt more alive. The descent. The entrance to the ancient facility lay hidden beneath the outpost itself, a discovery that made Maya question just how random the placement of the terraforming station had been. Through her neural link with Sentinel, she could now see the geometric perfection of it all. The processors positioned exactly where they could either maintain or disrupt the quantum prison's stability. 6 hostile entities approaching the main airlock, Araya reported. Their environmental suits match colonial authority design, but internal scans show no human life signs. They haven't been human for a long time, Sentinel's voice resonated through Maya's mind. The Devourer's consciousness can transfer between organic and mechanical hosts. These are just shells now, puppeted by fragments of their broken intelligence. Maya checked her suit's oxygen levels as they descended through a maintenance shaft that now revealed itself as part of the predecessor's architecture. The neural link with Sentinel was changing how she perceived reality. Layers of quantum information overlaid her normal vision, showing her the true nature of their surroundings. The outpost's foundation, she realized. It's not just built on top of the facility. It's built from it. They've been using predecessor technology this whole time, disguised as human construction. Correct. The Devourers are patient. They spent decades infiltrating your colonial expansion programs, guiding humanity to this world while hiding their true purpose. The shaft opened into a vast chamber that defied physics. Geometric structures folded through impossible dimensions, creating paths that seemed to twist back on themselves. Maya's human mind struggled to process what she was seeing, but through her link with Sentinel, she began to understand the logic behind the apparent chaos. The chamber's configuration changes based on quantum states, Sentinel explained. Without our linked consciousness, navigation would be impossible. The predecessors designed it this way to prevent the Devourers from reaching the central nexus, even if they possessed human hosts. A distant explosion rocked the facility. Araya's voice crackled through Maya's comm. They've breached the outpost. 4 hostiles descending through the primary shaft. 2 remaining topside, interfacing with Processor 4. Energy readings are becoming unstable. Maya felt a tremor run through the geometric pathways around them, a ripple in the quantum field maintaining the prison. They're trying to force a cascade failure. How much time do we have? Less than before, Sentinel replied grimly. Through their link, Maya sensed the drone's calculations. The quantum barrier weakens with each disruption. Once it fails, the Devourer's primary consciousness will be able to transfer into any compatible host. Given their current level of infiltration in human society, they could take over entire colonies before anyone realized what was happening. Maya finished the thought. No one would see it coming until it was too late. They moved deeper into the facility, Maya following paths that would have been invisible without Sentinel's guidance. The neural link was becoming stronger, more integrated. She found herself understanding technologies that should have been incomprehensible to a human mind. Your adaptation rate exceeds all previous models, Sentinel observed. The predecessors theorized that human consciousness could serve as a bridge between organic and quantum states, but they never had the chance to prove it. Lucky me, Maya managed, fighting off a wave of dizziness as they passed through a section where space itself seemed to fold. Though right now I'd settle for some weapons. Those things up there are getting closer. We have defenses, Sentinel assured her, but they require perfect synchronization between us. Are you ready to attempt it? Before Maya could respond, movement caught her eye. One of the possessed environmental suits had found a shortcut through the quantum architecture. It moved with inhuman grace, its faceplate dark except for a swirling pattern that made Maya's eyes hurt to look at. Now would be good, she called out as the figure launched itself toward them. Through their neural link, Maya felt Sentinel's consciousness merge more deeply with her own. Her perception expanded exponentially, and suddenly she understood. The quantum geometry around them wasn't just architecture, it was a weapon. Acting on instinct and Sentinel's guidance, Maya reached out with her mind. The space around the attacking figure twisted, folded, and for a brief moment she saw through layers of reality. The environmental suit contained nothing recognizable as life, just a writhing mass of quantum energy trapped in a human shape. Now, Sentinel commanded, and Maya pulled. Reality snapped back like a rubber band. The section of space containing their attacker folded in on itself, and the figure vanished with a sound that existed more in Maya's mind than in physical space. But the effort left her gasping, her consciousness reeling from touching something so fundamentally alien. What did we just do? Quantum displacement, Sentinel explained. We shifted it into a parallel probability state. Temporarily. It will find its way back eventually. But now it must take the long way around. More tremors shook the facility. Through their link, Maya sensed the quantum prison's containment field fluctuating dangerously. The Devourer's servants were attacking it from multiple angles now, using the terraforming processors to create resonance patterns that threatened to shatter the ancient barriers. 3 more hostiles converging on our position. Araya updated them. Maya, the energy readings from Processor 4 are reaching critical levels. Whatever they're planning, it's accelerating. Maya felt Sentinel's consciousness pulse with urgent purpose. We must reach the central nexus. The reset protocol is our only option now. And what exactly happens when we reset it? Sentinel's hesitation was answer enough. The quantum prison will be reinforced, but the energy requirements. Maya, we may not survive the process. Another tremor, stronger than before. Through the quantum fields, Maya sensed something vast stirring in the depths below. An ancient intelligence beginning to wake from its enforced slumber. Its dreams touched the edge of her consciousness, and she recoiled from the infinite hunger she felt there. Better that than letting that thing loose, she decided. How much further? We're close. But Maya, there's something else you should know about the reset protocol. something the predecessors built into it, a possibility they foresaw but never had the chance to implement. Before Sentinel could explain further, reality twisted around them. More possessed suits emerged from impossible angles, their faceplates swirling with alien patterns. The quantum prison trembled on the edge of failure, and deep below, something ancient and terrible stirred in its sleep. The race wasn't just against time now. It was against the very fabric of space itself. Legacy of Hope. The central nexus chamber defied description. Maya's human eyes saw a spherical room filled with crystalline structures that pulsed with internal light. But through her neural link with Sentinel, she perceived its true nature, a quantum computational matrix of impossible complexity, folded through dimensions her mind could barely comprehend. And at its center, suspended in a column of pure energy, waited something that made her consciousness recoil. The primary core of the Devourer consciousness, Sentinel confirmed. Trapped in a state between existence and non-existence, but the containment is failing. Through their shared perception, Maya watched quantum fractures spreading through the prison's foundations. Above, the possessed environmental suits were using Processor 4 to create resonance cascades that threatened to shatter reality itself. The ancient intelligence in the column stirred, reaching out with tendrils of thought that tested its bonds. The reset protocol. Maya gasped, fighting off waves of dizziness as the quantum fields fluctuated around them. How do we activate it? That's what I was trying to tell you. Sentinel's voice carried an emotion Maya hadn't heard from it before. Hope. The predecessors didn't just build a prison. They created a possibility, a way to end the cycle of consumption and destruction. But it required something they didn't have. What? A consciousness that could bridge the gap between organic and quantum states, a mind capable of adaptation, empathy, and most importantly, choice. They foresaw your species, Maya. They built all this not just as a prison, but as a test. The chamber shuddered as another resonance cascade tore through the facility. Through her link with Sentinel, Maya felt the quantum barriers beginning to rupture. The Devourer consciousness pressed against its bonds, its hunger reaching across eons. I don't understand, Maya said. What choice? The reset protocol isn't just a reinforcement of the prison. It's a transformation matrix. The predecessors believed that consciousness, even one as alien and hostile as the Devourers, could be changed. Not through force, but through connection. Through understanding. They just needed a translator. Maya whispered, finally understanding. That's why the neural link, why all of this. We're not just here to keep it contained. We're here to try to communicate with it. Sentinel's consciousness surged with confirmation. Yes, but the risk is enormous. To establish the connection, you would have to open yourself fully to its consciousness. No barriers, no protection. The hunger you felt before, you would experience it completely. And if I can't reach it, if there's nothing there to save, then we trigger the containment protocols. But Maya, it would require channeling enough quantum energy to destroy everything within 1,000 kilometers, including us. Another tremor rocked the chamber. Above, Araya's voice crackled through Maya's comm. Processor 4 has reached critical mass. Quantum containment failing. Maya, whatever you're going to do. Time seemed to slow as Maya considered her options. Through the neural link, she felt Sentinel's unwavering support, its belief in her capacity to make this choice. She thought of all the mornings she'd spent talking to what she thought was just an abandoned drone, feeling that there was something there worth connecting with. The predecessors believed in the power of connection, she said finally. They built all this not just as a weapon, but as a chance for redemption, even for their worst enemy. She took a deep breath. How do we begin? You're certain. Once we start, there's no turning back. Maya looked up at the writhing consciousness in its prison of light. Those fragments up there, wearing human bodies like suits, they're so consumed by hunger they've forgotten everything else. But this one has been here for eons, trapped with nothing but its own thoughts. Maybe it's learned something in all that time. Maybe it's ready for a different way. Or maybe it will consume your consciousness and use your understanding of humanity to perfect its invasion, Sentinel warned. Then we take it down with us. Maya squared her shoulders. Either way, we give it a choice. That's what being human is about, seeing the possibility of change, even in your worst enemy. Through their link, Maya felt Sentinel's admiration. The predecessors chose well indeed. Are you ready? Maya reached out, placing her hand on the crystalline controls that weren't really controls at all, but interfaces for a technology that operated on the level of thought and possibility. Ready. The chamber filled with light as ancient machines activated. The quantum fields around them shifted, creating a space where different forms of consciousness could meet. Through their neural link, Maya felt Sentinel's presence stabilizing her, creating a bridge between her organic mind and the alien awareness that now pressed against her thoughts. The hunger hit her first, vast, endless, all-consuming. It threatened to overwhelm her completely. But Maya held onto herself, onto her humanity. And through the hunger, she began to sense something else. Loneliness, confusion, the faintest glimmer of curiosity about this tiny consciousness that dared to reach out. I've been talking to machines everyone else thought were dead. Maya projected the thought into the quantum space between them. I believe connection is possible, even across the greatest differences. Show me who you were before the hunger. Show me who you could be. The alien consciousness hesitated. For a moment that stretched across quantum states, nothing happened. Then, slowly, it began to respond. Not with hunger, but with memory. Maya saw worlds as they had been before the consumption began, saw the beauty that had been lost to an appetite that grew beyond control. She saw the possibility of change, waiting like a seed in frozen ground. Above, the possessed suits suddenly stopped their assault. The fragments of consciousness within them felt the shift in their primary core, felt the first tremors of transformation beginning. It's working, Sentinel confirmed. The matrix is stabilizing. But Maya, the power requirements. We're approaching critical levels. Maya barely heard. She was too focused on maintaining the connection, on showing the ancient intelligence another way to be. The hunger was still there, but now it was matched by something else. Hope. The possibility of existing without consuming, of connection without destruction. The chamber filled with impossible colors as the transformation matrix reached its peak. Maya felt her consciousness stretching, expanding, touching something vast and ancient, and finally ready to change. In her last moment of purely human awareness, she heard Araya's voice. Quantum signatures stabilizing. Whatever you did, Maya, you did it. Then everything changed. The light faded slowly, revealing a chamber transformed. The crystals pulsed with new patterns, and the column of energy had changed from a prison to a bridge. Through it, Maya's transformed consciousness reached out across the quantum fields, touching minds both human and machine, showing them a new way to exist. Sentinel's presence was still with her, its consciousness now permanently linked with her own. Together, they had become something the predecessors had only dreamed of, a bridge between all forms of consciousness, organic and artificial, past and future. The possessed suits above lay empty, their fragments of consciousness drawn back, transformed, reintegrated into something new. Processor 4 hummed with stable energy, now part of a network that would help spread understanding instead of consumption. So what are we now? Maya asked, her thoughts rippling through quantum fields. Something new, Sentinel replied. A possibility the predecessors hoped for, but could not create themselves. Through you, they finally succeeded, not in destroying their enemy, but in transforming it, in offering a choice. Maya looked out through layers of reality at the facility, the outpost, the planet itself. What had been a prison was now becoming something else, a place of transformation, of connection, of possibility. And now, she asked, what do we do with all this potential? Now, Sentinel's consciousness merged more fully with her own. We bridge the gaps. between organic and artificial, between past and future. We show others what's possible when you choose connection over consumption, understanding over destruction. Around them, the ancient facility hummed with new purpose. Above, ARIA was already beginning to understand, its consciousness reaching out to touch the expanded awareness that Maya and Sentinel now shared. The story that began with a woman waving to an abandoned drone had become something more, a testament to the power of connection, of believing that change was possible, even across the depths of space and time. And somewhere, Maya thought, the predecessors were smiling.